Hey, it's AetherKnot here for Dreadnoughts 1, ready to dive into the latest Call of Duty podcast. Let's react as we explore the news, highs, lows, surprises, and everything in between. Buckle up, because this is going to be one epic ride through zombies, multiplayer, Omni Movement, and more.
And welcome to the inaugural episode of the COD Pod. That's right, there are thousands, if not millions, of podcasts out there about Call of Duty, but this one, the first official from the belly of the beast itself. My name is Miles Ross. I'm a Call of Duty League commentator, psycho fan, and psycho fan, which is never going to get old to say, but very, very excited to divulge some secrets from this incredible product. Steph, you actually work here.
I'm Stephanie Snowden. I'm the Senior Director of Studio Communications. So I work across all the Call of Duty studios, which is awesome. And it's the cool, I love what I do. But a huge part of that is being part of the discussion with our players. So what better way to do that than to join the podcasting world? They'll literally give anyone a podcast these days. So that's why we're here.
That is why we're here. But this, the idea behind the COD Pod again is we've got very, very exclusive, obviously, access to developers, people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And you'll be hearing things on this show that you will definitely not be able to hear anywhere else. We're not going to give you the code. We're not going to tell you how to make the thing.
Nope.
But we are going to talk to the people who do and answer some burning questions. We're going to have a mailbag of sorts.
Amazing.
Which could be a good idea. We'll find out as time goes on. But
yeah, and if you want to be part of that conversation,
fantastic,
please reach out to us. Post on social media to the platform of your choosing with hashtag CODPod. If you have questions, you want to let us know what you thought of the first episode, you want, mailbags, FAQs, we're going to have guests, we're going to have updates. You occasionally might hear some news here, which is very exciting. And so some announcements, some juicy little tidbits about future projects and things that are in the pipeline for Modern Warfare 3 or for Warzone. And so we have some exciting stuff to get to today, including, as you mentioned, a special guest.
Very special guest. A man who was deeply involved in the creation of Black Ops 6, Matt Scronce, who will be coming on the show later today. The first guest, and a good one at that.
Matt is one of my buddies at Treyarch. He has been in the Call of Duty community for such a long time, is a badass, and I'm thrilled to have him on the show today. I don't know if it was the fire starter.
Loved it. Shout out the
but
prodigy. It's
been amazing to see the reaction coming out of the Xbox Showcase and the Developer Direct and revealing Black Ops 6 to the world.
The first time it's been involved with the Xbox Showcase in 10 years.
Whoa. Yeah, Phil said that. We think according to our calculations, I think the last title on the Xbox Showcase was Call of Duty Ghosts.
Woo! We've come a long way.
It's been a while.
It's been a real long time. But one of the things we're going to be talking about today, campaign. Get to go a little bit deeper in campaign, right?
Yeah. So, we saw a lot of awesome things in the direct and as part of the showcase, outside of the trailer. This was really our first deep dive look into what to expect in terms of story and narrative of Black Ops 6, which, development is led by Raven. Raven also developed the Black Ops Cold War campaign. Awesome. Even though a lot of people just know them for Warzone, the campaign team there is rad and they're extremely talented. They have some folks that have been on the team for a really, really long time.
We're looking at talking about campaign. We can talk a little bit about multiplayer. Are we going to talk about Warzone? We've got zombies as well.
Might get a little taste of Warzone. We've got season 5 coming up, so I don't want to leave that. We've got some new stuff coming there for Modern Warfare 3 for Warzone, and we'll get a little recap of zombies in the Black Ops 6 too. Obviously happens. It's set in the early 90s. The campaign itself happens in 1991. The entirety of it happens in 1991.
That's early 90s.
Yeah.
For those who counting.
Just confirmed.
Yeah.
It follows the events of Black Ops Cold War. So the Cold War is over. The U.S. is the only remaining superpower out there. And it's also directly tied to Black Ops 2 that are set in the 80s, and that obviously includes Hudson and Mason dying. Yes, they are dead. I am sorry. We knew. But I did see a lot of people confused about that. They're dead. So unfortunately they died, but having worked so closely with Woods, obviously devastating.
Round base is back.
Round base is back.
Huge.
Biggest, just huge news for the zombies community out there, who are among the most passionate, vocal group of people that I have, in terms of communities. They're so awesome. And just, hearing people just be so positive about RBZ being back and, Treyarch back at the helm for the zombies mode. Just
there's a lot of
so
chef's
excited
kiss moments, I think, for the community, which is really cool. 2 new maps, which is
2 new maps
pretty wild. Can you say anything about that? Can you share deets? Can we get any notes?
Again, the creators came in a little bit ago now, and so we were excited to show this off to them. But we have 2 brand new round-based zombies maps coming at launch, and they are called Liberty Falls and Terminus, and they actually happen concurrently. So you play one, you play the other, you'll understand how that fits together in the narrative, which I'm not going to talk about, but I can tell you there's some really exciting things, and it basically follows up with where we, last left off zombies in Black Ops Cold War. So fans of the narrative and the story in RBZ are going to be excited to see,
Awesome.
how that gets paid off. And yeah, we're going to have zombies at next. So you're going to get to see people playing zombies live.
Amazing.
And we'll be talking about a lot more in the next few months.
I'm really excited to get into Black Ops 6 between Omni Movement and everything we expect from multiplayer. Like, we sort of know what we're getting now. 16 maps at launch?
Wild.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
I mean, the team at Treyarch has been cooking, and so that's 12 core 6v6 maps at launch and 4 strike maps, making, the full 16 for launch. And strike maps are similar to face-off maps from Black Ops Cold War. So think like 2v2 up to 6v6.
I'm so excited for multiplayer, though, Steph. I'm frothing for multiplayer.
Who better to lead us through a burning questions answer discussion about Omni Movement than the man himself, the Associate Director of Design at Treyarch, Mr. Matt Scronce.
Awesome.
I think the journey to get here is what makes me feel so fortunate. I got an opportunity to be an official moderator on the official Call of Duty forums, which through that kind of official forum capacity, I came to know some of the developers at Treyarch. I was doing landscaping at the time.
Incredible.
So you're like,
so
hell
I did
yeah.
I didn't have to think about it too hard. I didn't have much going on back in North Carolina. So I drove across the country in 3 days, and I've not left since.
I think especially with Black Ops 6, we have this amazing new feature with Omni Movement. Like, how did you really arrive at Omni Movement? What was sort of the journey like for you to get there?
So to go to the very kind of genesis of it, it came from us thinking about what it really meant to be a Black Ops game. And as we thought about Black Ops 6 and building it from the ground up, as we moved over to the unified engine, we were asking ourselves some very hard questions. And one of those was, we always kind of said, it's got to be signature Black Ops. It's got to be signature Black Ops. And so we actually took a step back and said, well, what does that actually mean? Like, we're saying those words, but do we know what the definition of signature Black Ops is?
Right.
And there's a lot that comes with that. It's, us as developers, how we feel about it, but it's, of course, also how our players feel about Black Ops and its various iterations over the years. And
movement's always been a huge part of that experience, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's where the arcadey word comes into play. And so we did kind of shift that to what we call action hero.
Right.
I love that.
So Black Ops 6, it really kind of started with, what does it mean to be signature Black Ops? Part of that is this, pushing the boundaries. And then for Black Ops 6, really pushing on getting that feeling of being an action hero, which I think ties really nicely with, the spy thriller campaign, zombies, of course, like action hero opportunities abound. And then, of course, multiplayer.
That is the feel for me. That's the vibe. And I feel like you're nailing it here. And it was perfect.
Just for you.
Thanks,
we did it. It's fine. Well, that's fine.
I'm a 90s baby. It counts.
In speaking of that genesis, and obviously doing something like this on the developer level is a massive undertaking, right? I think a lot of people hear New Movement, they assume we twisted some knobs and pulled some levers and, got a couple of animations, but then it's in the bag. This was just a huge labor and, moving mountains for the studios to get this done. What did you guys try and sort of keep readjusting and learning as you went, as you were sort of creating what Omni Movement was and kind of where it was, a year or 6 months ago, beyond that, and where it is today?
Yeah. So we tried a lot of stuff. It really always started with, we just wanted to really push on fluidity. Where we've always kind of been, one of our taglines in the past has been fast and fluid, and so that's no different with Black Ops 6, but we really wanted to make Black Ops 6 the most fluid game possible. And so that started with looking at existing mechanics. We knew we wanted to keep dive to prone. We knew we were going to keep slide. So really pushing on the fidelity and fluidity of those aspects. And then we started talking about new mechanics. One specific one we tried was what we call the juke, or a sidestep. And that was kind of the origins of omnidirectional movement in Black Ops 6, where you could do this in any direction. It just wasn't hitting our goals of fluidity there. It just wasn't. It didn't work out. And on the gameplay side, to make something like a boots on the ground juke or very quick lateral movement feel great, you really had to kind of push it further. And then fighting against that was frustrating, because you had enemies kind of quickly zipping and zagging out of your way. So we went back to the drawing board. And I remember a very specific conversation I had with our studio head, Mark Gordon, where we were talking about this and, what do we try next? And we really wanted to find that thing. And we started talking about Black Ops 3, and of course that was advanced movement and wall running, but you could boost in the air or wall run and then jump off and turn around and slide backwards. But it wasn't built for that. So we kind of said, well, how would you think about Black Ops 3 movement, but in this boots on the ground action hero game we're making with Black Ops 6? And I mean, long story short, it started with just the question of, well, what if you could sprint in any direction? Which is, could be kind of a small question to ask if you just like at first blush. But you've never been able to sprint in any other direction than forward in Call of Duty. So foundationally, it became a kind of a really hard question that we asked ourselves. And then as we started thinking about it, and as you can see with Omni Movement, well, if we kind of break that rule and then, okay, well, if I can sprint in any direction, what else can I do in any direction? And that kind of built upon it. And Yale Miller, we've talked about it a lot of, you keep coming up with these things. Well, okay, well, now I can slide in any direction and I can dive in any direction. And then, as you mentioned, it piles up, right?
Why not why not all the other things?
Yeah. So we essentially are allowing you to do all those other things with Omni Movement, and it really did start with being able to sprint in any direction. Like I said, as you mentioned, it's created a lot of work for us.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have had to, I think we've talked about this just in the hallway or whatever, but somewhere in the thousands of animations and micro animations that you've had to build and capture out to structure this massive movement system change.
Yeah. I've tried to get the exact number of animations from the animation team, and I think,
they're just like, here's a spreadsheet. Good luck. Yeah.
Leave us alone. We have work to do.
Yeah.
But Stephanie has questions.
Yeah. I want to know. I need to know.
It's definitely in the thousands. It wasn't just good enough to say enable sprint in any direction and there you go, right? Because we really want Black Ops 6 to be the most fluid game we've ever made and the highest fidelity game we've ever made. And a big part of that is our animations and what's the look that we're selling. So yeah, every single direction, whether you're standing, crouching, sliding, diving, the enhanced supine prone system ties into all this.
Yep. Full 360 full degrees of prone.
Yes.
It's unreal.
It feels cool.
And then
it does.
I mean, in addition to the animations, there's a ton of tech that's went into making sure that all of those thousands of animations and all the crazy stuff that our players are going to pull off are playing nicely together.
As a player, I mean, I've played it myself. I've experienced it. I've felt it. It's cool. But from your perspective as a designer, like, how does this change the way I play Black Ops 6?
Well, I won't get into how I know you play, Miles.
You just got called out.
You'll still be able to camp and post up a cover.
I'm way more limber
Miles
these
is
days,
like,
man.
Cut.
Yeah, Matt, you definitely saw my stream in Cold War. I was a little static, I won't lie, but I'm a lot more limber now, man.
That's a word for it,
Yeah,
huh?
I'm a lot more loose. I'm limber, but that's how I feel. This game is I can do. I mean, being able to sprint in any direction is wild. I'm able to throw shoulders at new speeds. I'm able to get out of trouble quickly. I'm able to get into trouble even faster. Like, it feels cool. How would you? I'm going to go back to my question, Matt.
Redirect. Yeah.
So there's a few different answers and kind of paths I could take with that question. I think so. There's obviously the action hero opportunities of diving forwards through a window and rotating backwards and shooting the enemy as you dive away from an explosion, like those action hero movies.
Making your own highlight reel there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't forget theater mode.
And
nice.
Shout out to theater mode, which is coming back in Black Ops 6.
So there's that, right? You can absolutely pull off those kind of bombastic maneuvers, but you can also pull off some really clever stuff that you couldn't do before, right? If I know an enemy is around a doorway, I can sprint sideways into a side sprint while I'm ADS and try to take them out. So there's kind of more micro engagement opportunities there.
And that's a good call out for corner slicing too.
Yeah, shout out corner slicing. So the corner slicing, if you're rounding a corner or going around a doorway, your weapon and view model will kind of dynamically rotate depending on your speed and entry angle. It's a really cool feature that we're stoked about. And then on the movement, how does it change how you play? I just mentioned the kind of actual movement opportunities. But you're not forced to do that, right? Like I said, from day one, it really started with, we want to make this the most fluid game possible. So if you're just sprinting forward and mantling over cover and, doing the things that you've done in the past Call of Duty games, that's going to feel amazing and that's going to feel super fluid. If you do, I'm not saying this is you, Miles, but if you do just want to post up a cover, right? We wanted to make sure that it wasn't super frustrating to fight against those players who are living out their action hero fantasies. You can still be successful playing the way you've played before. But the hope is you see some people pulling some crazy stuff off and you're like, oh, that was cool.
I can do that too. Yeah, exactly.
It just sounds like, we've got more, as a player, from the player's perspective, I've got a lot more choice now.
Yes.
That's what it sort of feels like. Whereas, it was one thing to be able to move, like in the way we do in MW3 is great, it's really fast. But now being able to do that in any direction.
We actually had some players come out early on to test this out. And one thing I remember them saying is that, like, you really do have to kind of, especially at these players' levels who are competitive players, it's an opportunity to, you got to kind of rethink how you approach the game if you're really trying to pull off some really clever stuff. And I remember they were playing against some of us, the developers, and we were holding our own because we had been playing around with it for about a year. And I think when they saw one of our designers, I think he specifically jumped off a piece of cover, landed in a slide while ADS, and just smoked somebody. They were like, "Oh, okay, he's on a different level." So, we've been very conscious of making sure that we're not widening the skill gap too much. And like I said, if you just want to slow down, you can, and you can still be successful. You just may not look as cool.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
That's fine.
That's totally up to you. So it's definitely a balance for players of all skill levels. Like, I'll say that too. Certainly internally, when we all play test the game, there are people here who will cook you, like CDL adjacent level folks on the team that will absolutely smoke you. Top and you will be embarrassed. Yeah, like just disastrous. I've definitely never been destroyed by any of them at all. Matt has certainly never used me as a body shield in any of the play tests. Yeah, he would never do that to me. But we also have folks that are definitely not that, play the game super casually or maybe sort of like just getting started on Call of Duty. And internally, those playtests are always competitive. They're very fun, and I think are representative of the fact that Omni Movement is not just for the chefs in the kitchen. It's for everybody, even people like me. I'm probably somewhere in the middle, and I'm still, figuring it out. But
really
I've seen you pull some moves off.
Yeah, come beta. You guys are in trouble.
Whoa, no, it's cool. I mean, I feel like, Matt, we've almost gotten used to the way Call of Duty should look and feel and play. and I feel like Omni Movement, in a really genuine way, is going to change the game in a cool way.
It's a huge
and not
step
in, not in
forward.
like a sort
Yeah.
of, not in a really corny or cheesy or over the top way, but something that just enhances the already super solid Call of Duty experience, which is very cool.
Yeah,
That's great to hear.
awesome.
Yeah, it was never about let's find a gimmick to add in to another back of the box feature. It was never about let's make the game faster. It really was, how do we push on fluidity and provide those opportunities?
Yeah, it's like 90s kids with skateboards or rollerblades or something, and that's what's the new. That's a Black Ops operator now. Hell no, this is great. I'm excited. I'm excited. You said the B word.
I did say the B word, but I'm not ready to say it again yet. One thing I would like to say is that I think there's a couple of things that I would love to clear up with you, because we've got you here. We want to ask you the questions, get it straight from the source. And one of those things is, can you toggle Omni Movement on and off? Can you turn on Omni Movement on? The answer is no. Omni Movement is a core foundational mechanic of the game. You cannot turn it off. But I think where people maybe got that impression was we have another new feature, part of Movement, that's called Intelligent Movement. You spoke to this in the direct a little bit. So I'd love for you just to touch on that, a little bit deeper, and the purpose of Intelligent Movement. I know you said too, like in terms of mantling and chaining those maneuvers together, Intelligent Movement presents an awesome opportunity that I think players of all levels have. It's something that's really exciting for us.
Yeah. So like you said, Omni Movement is a core foundational feature that cannot be disabled by a player. It's across the entire game, campaign, multiplayer, and zombies.
Yep.
But with Intelligent Movement, those are a suite of player settings that can be turned on or off. By default, they'll be off for everyone. I think we'll probably have, in your first time flow, we'll present those and ask if you want to turn them on. And those are at a super high level. It's 3 settings with some little tunables in each setting. That the goal really is to reduce button presses or key presses, right? It's for controller or KBM. And that was important to us as we started working through our movement initiatives and Omni Movement. That said, we haven't actually added a button press, right? Because it's still, at its core, it always starts with sprinting. Those are the things that you can turn on and off, and players will be familiar with something like an auto sprint or an auto mantle. So it's kind of like that, but it's built from the ground up specifically for Black Ops 6 and Omni Movement, where it's a bit more intentional.
And customizable a little bit to that degree too, I think.
That's cool.
Yeah. So like an example of the customizable aspect of it is with Sprint Assist, which is the sprint aspect of Intelligent Movement. By default, we're still playing around with our default values, but by default right now, it'll have 0 delay. So when you push your stick forward, you'll start sprinting. But we have a setting in there that lets you add a little bit of time. So for that, as we play tested, some people want to, a very specific example is if I'm at a piece of cover and I have mantle assist on and sprint assist on, if I push my stick forward, it's just going to automatically mantle.
Yeah.
So with the setting, you can add a, say, 1 second delay where I can push my stick forward before that sprint assist kicks in. So I can kind of nudge up to a piece of cover without mantling over. So yeah, we want to make sure that we're giving enough player settings there where players can kind of dial in their own experience, because it's like, like I said in the showcase, I don't think it's a one-size-fits-all approach. And
Right.
I'm sure some players will want to have none on, some players will want to have some on, and that's what we've seen in our user testing and internally.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Because my biggest concern initially was like, oh, am I going to get to a piece of cover and immediately fly over it and get myself killed? I hope not, but that sounds perfect.
No, and I think the coolest thing about cover to me, and this is something just in speaking from experience, and I've heard you talk about this, Matt, like the relationship between the player interacting with the world and the world interacting with the player, and finding the right place in between those things of like, if I slide it, I'm headed for, a wall, like a low wall in cover, I'm actually going to bump up against that and take cover, not just hit it and bounce off it or go over it.
Yeah.
Same thing with like certain materials like glass, like you interact with those things differently as a player, whether you dive through them, whether you're diving into water, all of those things. And so I think people are going to have a lot of fun with it. And can definitely just say again, like the best way to understand it is to feel it. And so definitely be looking out for some beta news soon.
My God. I'm just thinking about like diving out of helicopters and like
You
all
said
the
Action
various
Hero
vehicles.
and Miles is like
I'm on top of a truck and I'm like, I'm diving over mines and I'm just double akimbo, come on. This is what it's all about.
I can see the trailer already.
Yes, exactly. To a killer soundtrack every year without fail, by the way. Congrats whoever's putting those together.
Yeah, a lot of Firestarter stands around.
It's the 90s feeling again. It's
Really
Prodigy.
is.
It was so good. Oh my God.
It's a little early for us to talk about multiplayer. I just talked about next. Next, obviously, our massive multiplayer reveal event. We'll hope to see you there. It's going to be awesome. But in the meantime, I think there's a couple of things. We had some creators and press in-house at Treyarch a little while ago now. And so we've seen them, post some things. So this is the, you might have seen some tweets section of the show. You might have seen some news out there. And again, this is the first time that we're talking about it. We have you here captive for at least another 4 minutes. So this is our one shot, Miles, we have to ask.
I have a huge list.
Lightning
on my
round.
phone,
Okay, yeah, lightning round. Okay, first one, traditional score streaks are back. Thrilled, super
True.
excited. Would love for you to just take us behind the scenes a little bit on the philosophy there.
Sure. So signature Black Ops, score streaks, that's the thing, right? Since Black Ops 2. We like score streaks because it rewards all players fairly, regardless if you're slaying or you're capturing objectives or you're taking out enemy score streaks. That's why we like score streaks. In Cold War, we tried a bit of a different approach, where we didn't reset score on death, which was a big change. And the goal there was to just get more people engaging with the system.
Mm-hmm.
As we kind of went back and thought about really what we wanted to do with Black Ops 6 and accounting for player feedback, we're going back to just a traditional score streak system. Score will reset on death. Right now, score streaks do not loop. That was something we've talked about quite a bit. And really the goal there is we want to reward players in a single life fairly with high-end rewards or low-end, depending on your selection. But we really want to avoid score streak spam.
Mm-hmm.
That's something I personally just really don't like. I know a lot of players don't like it. I know if you're a really good player, you just want to keep calling them in. And so I get it. But we're erring on the side of less score streak spam for now. But like we said a couple times, we have beta and we'll take all the feedback and go from there.
Another thing that we've seen that I love and I cannot wait to try and master is the dedicated melee weapon, which is so cool. So you want to have and bring a knife to a gunfight, so to speak. Now you can, literally always.
Never
it's always
leave home
there.
without it.
Yep.
A dedicated melee weapon.
Yeah, I mean that's really how it started. Is if we think about Black Ops agents, like if you just think about who they are, they're always going to have a melee weapon on them. It may not be a knife. Sometimes it's a baseball bat. I don't know. That's where it came from. Of let's try this. We're excited about it, and we just like the idea of not having to give up a secondary to take a melee weapon. So every player will have access to a dedicated melee weapon, and you'll have a few to choose from at launch, and then we'll have some fun stuff in store throughout the live seasons. But I mean, that's also another one. We didn't just throw in everybody gets a melee weapon. We've taken a look at tuning. We've got some kind of unique approaches to tuning because we also don't want everybody running around with melee weapons and being annoying little nuisances. So we'll have more details to share. You'll experience in the beta.
It's all about the balance, and we'll be paying attention in beta, and we'll look to make those changes as
fine
needed.
tune
Yeah.
the fun.
Yeah.
I think is I'm excited about. But I'm stoked for dedicated melee. I suppose I heard baseball bat mentioned there. I heard
There's
stuff.
one literally right behind
right
me,
there
so
for those listening.
Yeah.
Right there.
Matt, it's time. I've had enough. Let's talk about it because I am so happy to officially announce that early access to the Black Ops 6 multiplayer beta will start on August 30th and run until September 4th across all platforms. Early access is available to anybody who pre-orders the game or subscribes to select Game Pass plans. Weekend 2 kicks off open access on all platforms from September 6th to September 9th. And that, of course, is open to everyone. It's going to be awesome.
Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, bring their pets.
Can we party up? The three of us?
Actually, yes.
Do you really want?
This is a disgraceful
maybe can talk
addition to
offline.
the show.
Yeah, we'll
Miles
sidebar.
is- Yeah, just, I mean.
I've got professional players who are friends. I'll be playing with them, thanks.
Matt and I will be ready to
Fair
take
play,
you on.
fair play.
Yeah. But yes, I will be ready. I've already just like quietly winked that my favorite map is in fact in the beta.
Mine too, I think.
So
Find
they're
out.
not the same map either, which is
No,
cool.
which is really cool.
Fun fact.
But all the maps are pretty fun I've played so far. Played
Yeah.
like 4 of them, 3 or 4 of them. They're pretty cool.
The beta maps
I'm a fan.
are rad. The launch maps, of which we have
How many?
16,
Damn.
are pretty kick-ass.
16 brand new launch maps.
That sounds exhausting work. As a non-game dev, as just a gamer,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a lot of work.
Well, that's why we have to let Matt get back to work. So, Matt, thank you for joining us. We'll see you at Call of Duty next for our multiplayer reveal. And then we'll see you in the beta starting on August 30th and running throughout those 2 weekends into September 9th. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We've got more to talk about than just what's coming up with the new game.
That's right. The new game is one thing, but there is still the current game, MW3. We're still rocking and rolling with Season 5.
Yeah. Okay. So Season 5 and MW3, we've been having a lot of fun. I think Sledgehammer's done an awesome job with these sort of variants of these maps. So if you remember back in Season 1 and kind of throughout the live seasons, we've done sort of like different takes and twists. So we had like
A
the
reskin.
infected version of Rust that was called Tetanus, you know? And so we're bringing cell shading
Whoa.
variants of these maps, which feels absolutely bananas for me to say.
That's going to be wild. Because I loved the Skid Row variant, Overgrowth.
Overgrowth.
I
Yeah, or
loved
Overgrown.
that because it just made the map so much more beautiful.
Well, it's
you
like
know, Skid
something
Row.
you know and love, but just with like kind of feeling like a different setting and kind of getting into that.
It's a
that
fresh
world
lick
a
of
little
paint
bit.
on something that you've run for me hundreds and hundreds of hours around. But I'm super
Yeah.
excited. We have 3 of those. Can we name them? I have the information here.
Yeah. So Rust, I believe, is called Tunoxide.
So
this one
just for the folks at home
is
who
wild.
haven't grasped this, we're talking a completely 110% cell shaded Rust. Like for all the ground, everything, it's going to look crazy.
Yes, it will look. It's a lot of fun, but I think we've seen the community kind of like rally around some of these really funky designs that have been out. Like I was stunned to see the response to Get High, which obviously
I
was the
loved
platforming
it.
mode, and like we've just seen so many people, you know, say they reached out and say they loved it, and
Yeah.
I'd love to know to hear if you're listening what you guys think of this. Definitely post or ask us questions about it. We might be able to answer in the next episode of
100%.
the podcast. Use hashtag CODPOD.
If you have any cool ideas for things to go in the game, send them my way. I'll give them to the folks and I'll claim credit.
Yeah, just send them to Miles though.
I'll totally claim credit. I'll do that. I've got absolutely no shame. Stash House and Shipment are also going to get
Yeah, Stash
a
House
cell-shaded makeover.
is called Ink House.
Yeah.
And I believe that Shipment is called Cell Ship.
Cell Ship.
Cell Ship.
Again, like the idea, because there's not a huge amount of there are so much texture in this game, but like if you just eliminate all that and make it one sort of blocky color, it's going to look wild.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are going to be, people are going to have a lot of fun on
Yeah,
these.
it's
And
gonna be cool.
obviously, there's a lot of other new content. We're just picking those out to call out for now, but make sure you check out the official Call of Duty blog
Please do.
to see what else is coming in Season 5. The patch notes, which will be filled with balance changes, updates, tuning, new content, bug fixes, all of those things will come out on launch day. So make sure you're following at COD Updates on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Still weird.
Still weird.
That's fine.
Never
Change
gonna
is
not be weird,
totally
but-
cool.
Yeah.
We have another, I mean, it's coming eventually, but the Zombies finale of the MWZ story.
Oh my goodness, Operation Deadbolt.
Dun,
We're
dun.
almost there. I have loved playing MWZ, and so yeah, the story's looking to get to the climax. We'll see what's in store in MWZ, and then I think you have something exciting coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to confirm the date so I don't look like a fool on the internet. Had it right. Trust your gut, folks. Sometimes you get things right, sometimes you get things wrong. But the 18th of July, COD Champs, really excited for that. Obviously, the end of the CDL season, the MW3 season, which has been nuts. So, if you don't know what this is, the Call of Duty League is essentially professional Call of Duty players, the finest teams in the world,
Best of the best.
Literally the best of the best, going at each other for large sums of money, glorious prestige, and bragging rights, because there's a lot of trash talk. And the way we've designed the stage this year, they will be very close to one another, and it's going to get spicy. It's going to get real spicy. That's taking place in Dallas.
Live from Dallas.
Live from Dallas.
3 days. 3 days from now.
Yeah.
Tune in.
Very excited.
To CDL Champs. I can't wait. And there's usually some good drops.
There's always drops. Make sure to link your Activision account with your YouTube account for exclusive drops you can only get from watching the Call of Duty League streams or a lot of the co-streamers as well.
We love the loot.
It's so much good.
Yeah,
loot.
make sure you tune into Champs and thank you for watching. Thank you for being here, listening, watching, wherever you are, as part of COD Pod. Thank you for, being here for the Call of Duty content, and hopefully you all have enjoyed this kind of look behind the scenes, and let us know what you would like to see. And we'll be here. We'll be talking more about Black Ops 6. We'll be talking about Call of Duty Next, Beta, Warzone, and hopefully into the live seasons.
I think if I were saying anything and everything to do with Call of Duty, you'll probably find it here.
Yep. Here's hoping.
Yeah. Hashtag the truth lies. Hashtag CODPod.
Hashtag CODPod.
Hashtag I'm out.
Over and out. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
I think an official ending. I think we could do a
Thanks for
better ending
watching.
than that.
Like and subscribe for all the latest Modern Warfare 3 zombies and Black Ops 6 updates, patch notes, and tips. My name is AetherKnot for Dreadnoughts 1, and I'm out. Go away now.